Good morning, everyone. This is Sister Pat, and I'm hoping everyone is doing well today. We're going to begin our study, but before we begin, we're going to do a prayer thought. All right, the prayer thought will begin, and it states, from the days of Adam to our time, our great enemy have been exercising his power to oppress and destroy. He is now preparing for his last campaign against the church. Now you got to remember, the church is the people. It's not a building. It's God's church. And from Adam until now, he set out to destroy. When Adam sinned, he gave power over to Satan. He didn't know he was doing that. And since then, Satan actually believes he owns God, the world. Christ came and died, he doesn't. But he feels he does, and he knows he's going to burn, and he's decided that he's going to take all of us with him. Click on it. So all who seek to follow Christ will be in conflict with this relentless foe. He means he is determined that none of us are going to be saved. He knows his end, but he's determined that we will not be saved. And that's what this is telling us. It's really a warning, so we'll understand. The more nearly the Christian imitates the divine pattern, the more surely will he make himself a mark for the attack. So the closer we get to Christ, the more we obey, the more we follow his will, is the more. And when you wonder, why is my life like this? Why am I feeling this way? Sometimes you might need to look and say, it's my relationship with the Lord, and he's determined. But remember now, he cannot win. We must have on the whole armor of God and be ready at any moment for a conflict with the powers of darkness. The whole armor is me. We can't get up in the morning and don't spend time with the Lord. We have to spend, and even when you spend time with the Lord, the demons are around us. But remember, don't give the demons any glory. This is just to say, be careful, stay focused. This is all this is about. When temptations and trials rush in upon us, let us go to God and agonize with him in prayer. He will not turn us away empty, but will give us grace and strength to overcome and to break the power of the enemy. Like I just said, he can't win. We are victors, but we have to understand that and know that, and don't give any credit, knowing that that's what he set out to do. So with this, I'll have opening prayer. Okay, I'm going to pray now. Our Father in heaven, thank you so much for another beautiful Sabbath day. We're alive. We're in our right minds, and you have blessed us tremendously. We want to stop first and say thank you. Thank you for never leaving us. Thank you for your written word. Thank you for brethren, for fellowship, and for just being our God. Today, as we spend some time with you, we invite the presence of your Holy Spirit. Teach us, I pray, and please remove and bind the demons, that we will not be distracted, that we'll understand what it is you have for us, and then through your grace be able to apply them to our lives. Again, we thank you. In your son's name, amen. Now, today we're going to talk about flawed people. And we're going to look at it in all of its light and show us who we are and what we will become. We've got 3 people waiting. Do I need to click? Okay, thank you. Now, the meaning of flaw is blemished, damaged, or imperfect in some way. faulty, defective, unsound, imperfect, having a weakness in character. Now, I am not saying anybody is, I can't point my finger and say, this person is flawed or not. What we're saying is because of sin, all of us have become damaged. Remember, the prayer thought, he's determined to destroy us. After we sinned, then we became, after Adam sinned, the results of this sin been from us to know. Even the baby that is born is imperfect. And so that's what it is. Now, if we don't need to look at ourselves as that without hope. We're going to look at it, look at the imperfections, and then we're going to see the hope, because that's what God came to save. Now, he could have had a set of just plain righteous people with nothing going on. Now, the unseen worlds, the other worlds that did not sin, they are perfect, and they don't understand sin and why Christ had to die. But we do, and we have a hope. So let's look at, as we go on. From birth, the messages we receive from our parents or guardian can go a long way to reinforce a positive sense of self or tear us down. What it's saying is, from the time we were in our parents' womb, if the parents didn't want us, you can read all this in the Adventist home. That's why it tells us that from the time of conception, the parents need to understand that this is a life and begin to be positive. Talk to that baby, read to that baby. Well, we might think it's stupid, but it's not. But there's also, that's the positive message. But the negative part, parents, I don't want this baby. I hate being pregnant. Why do I have to be pregnant? I need to have an abortion. All of that sends a message to this child. So by the time the child, and then when the child is born, that same sense of issue is handed down to the child. So that's what it's saying. From birth, the message we receive from our parents. If the parents say you're stupid, you're short, you're fat, you're ugly, you this, you that, if they do that, this child grow up. We're talking about flawed individual. This child begin now to consider and live that out. And you know, I've seen children, you say, oh, you did this. Well, I didn't know I could do that because, you know, I'm stupid. Things like that. So that's what it's talking about. Women in psychologically abusive romantic relationship exhibit more signs of lower self-esteem. For instance, numerous studies have highlighted the diminished sense of self that sexual abuse victims undergo as well. So when, from early childhood, if the child have been abused verbally, you know, describing and talking negative about them, whether it's our father, they'll send some fathers, you're not my child, your mother must have done something. Then you have others, and that child develop all of that. Then you have it, or if there's sexual or other kinds of abuse, these individuals develop very low self-esteem and they don't function very well. Now, you have also, it says, women that enter relationships where they are abused. It doesn't mean only physical abuse. They have verbally, emotionally, psychologically abused. But because they had low self-esteem when they were growing up, they entered these relationships and accept that. Remember, we're talking about flawed individuals. So now how can these individuals in whatever situation function? Even if there's a trauma, if a person lived through a earthquake and watch people die, those people down in Florida, do you know how much trauma those children, that 9-year, that 10-year-old that they took from the rubble that was saying, help me and my mother. They got him, but his mother died. He's 10. Can you imagine the childhood, what he's going to experience? And that's what this is talking about, flawed. He's got to have a lot of care because that's what happened. Then any form of childhood trauma situation within the environment experienced as a child leaves feelings of vulnerability. That person feel like they couldn't count on the world or other people to keep them safe. For many, childhood trauma has an unfortunate consequence of affecting your ways of thinking and relating to the world and others as adults. Whether we believe it or not, the behavior that we're going to look at, that we exhibit, comes from whatever happened to cause us to be flawed. Remember, we inherited it when Adam and Eve sinned and curses were on the earth. We inherit that. Now put that on top of being abused in whatever way, a traumatic way. This means you find life at times challenging and difficult in ways that you might not be able to logically explain. Now we're going to looking at a flawed portrait. This is the person that has been damaged. In looking at a flawed portrait, we see those who are struggling with identity. Well, you know what? Which is caused by condemning voice, the identity. You don't belong to me. Your mother must have cheated, or that's not your father. Some, you know how many people I have worked with that thought the father that they were living with were the real father until they get grown up and the mother mad with the father or whatever happened. And then the mother now divulged that information. There are people that have been adopted thinking that this is their family only to find out and see, or when you're flawed and you don't know who you are, the identity struggle. And as a result of these voices, the things that people tell us, you're no good, you never amount to anything, you'll never finish college, you'll never get a job, look at you, you're stupid. And those things, it now presents insecurity. And then as you look at the picture, it says, the top picture said, this must be my fault. It's my fault why the trauma. It's my fault why I'm this. And that person begins to blame themselves. Then the others, you see pictures in different points. These are hurting individuals. So it says, this now developed because of the issues. We develop doubt, insecurity. An insecure person is a really sad person. These are people that can't even make decisions. They, if you say, do you want to go for a walk? I don't know. Do you want to go for a walk? I'll go if you want to. Now that's really sad. A person should be able to say sure or no, I don't feel like it. But an insecure person, since they don't know who they are, or identity, whatever the flows go, that's where they go. And it's the same thing with our religious life. It might not be that we want to be in this organization or this church, but we don't know who we are, so it sounds good. So I do it, but there is no root because we have problems with our identity. Feeling of inadequacy, anger, a lot of angry people is because of that flawed, what they went through, damaged self-image. You're stupid, you're this, you're that, you're fat, you're all of these things that we tell, and parents do it to their children. These negative self-images produces many, many problems in our area of life. So remember now, we already had strike against us after Adam sinned. And then the demons, now, since they think they control this world, which remember, they do not, okay? They now we're in areas where problems are created. And whether you believe it or not, it affects us all the way through life, unless we take a good look at it, allow the Lord to show us, and then go to the Lord, as we will see. So now we talk about flawed or damaged people. Now, this person is looking in the mirror. Look how distorted he looks. He's a young man. But look at the picture that he's looking at, how distorted he looks. That's not who he is. But because of what he was told and what was going on, he pictures himself like that. Do you know a lot of the people with eating disorders? They eating disorders because when they look at this distorted vision of what they think they are, they think they're fat. And so they begin to starve themselves. Remember, and so that's a distorted vision. And they think they're fat because somebody told them all of that. So they figure, if I could eat this way and don't eat, this would happen. And you would be surprised to know how many of our young people are involved in that because somebody at school or some teacher or some grandparents or somebody told them something negative about themselves. Now, the persons in this, the flawed individual, are found questioning themselves. We often ask ourselves, who am I? Now, that's really, really important because if I don't know, I am a candidate to be one of the 144,000. What do you think I'm going to do? If I don't know I am a child of God, not a perfect, I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a child of God and he died for me. If I don't understand all of that, what do you think I'm going to do? I don't belong. We'll ask ourselves, who am I? Where do I fit? How can I get off the treadmill of trying so hard to achieve success and win approval so I can feel good about myself? Now, we kind of do those kind of things. Let me tell you, when an individual is in this condition, you could go buy, you get dissatisfied. I think I buy a new car. So the person buy a new car because they think it's going to make them feel good about themselves. So they get the new car, and after it wear off, after the first month and the notes come in and service got to be, that's gone. Or you could buy 2 or 3 new suits to make you feel good. Or you could move into a different neighborhood. It's not going to change what is happening unless we get to the root of it. All of us are looking for security and significance, but most of us are searching in the wrong places, looking and searching for the wrong person to satisfy this insatiable desire to belong. There are women. I'm going to do the women first. I'm looking for a good husband. I'm looking. How in the world can you look? You can't. God is the only one that can choose for us. Because when we look, we see plastic. The plastic is we see what we want to see. Because a lot of times when we enter relationship, there are a lot of red flags. We don't see red flags. We just see this is what it's going to be and I'm going to change this person. You can't change an individual after the age of 7. You can go to the Spirit of Prophecy and read it. You have to satisfy. And so in looking, we can't look. I'm going to look here and I'll do this. I'm going to do that. That's the wrong motive. But because we don't know who we are, because we are flawed, we end up in this cycle. Now, I'm going to show us identify some of the flaws, some of the things so we can look at ourselves. This is not condemnation. All of us, remember, have flaws because of sin and because of our environment. And the environment that we grew up in is because of sin, why the individuals were abused. Okay, so all of it is wrapped up in sin. And so I don't want anybody to leave here and say, my mother did this. Your poor mother was struggling herself. The father was struggling themselves. Grandparents. So that's what it is. But we have hope. So we're going to look at some of the flaws, and then we'll ultimately look at how we can move from that place to the right place. So the flaws are for us to be able to see. Now, do you find yourself arguing for the sake of argument? Do you know the stupid stuff we argue about? Simple stuff. If when you look and evaluate it, you say, why was I arguing about the apple? I see the apple green. Jane see the apple red. Why am I arguing about that? You will see the minute stuff that we're going to lose our souls over. Some arguments are enjoyable to both participants. But if you find yourself in that situation constantly, that you have arguments in which you end up yelling louder and making your point, you may simply be argumentative. You understand? It may seem that way, but getting the last word in doesn't have any value if you find people avoid talking to you, all right, or give you just shut up. If you're in an argument or you get into an argument, but the person got to have the last word, it's something wrong with that person. And after a while, people don't talk. They don't want to talk because they know if they say it's blue, this person got to come and tell them why it's not blue. They didn't ask for that. They say it's blue. Well, if you see it white, you say, I hear you, but it's white to me. Why are we always trying to change that person's perspective? We want that person to see it white when we see it blue. The easy way to do is say, I hear you, but this is what I believe. And you're done. But most of the time we got to argue. You must not know the word, why you see it that way. You might not, I don't think you're a Christian why you call yourself a Davidian and you don't see it this way. And you see, that's not of the Lord. That's a flawed perspective. Now, is the issue you are arguing about really important? If you look at it, like I said, it's not important. It's not your soul salvation. And the messenger said, Brother Howard said, we are not lawyers. We don't have to argue the truth. He said the truth will stand. You say what you have to say. And if you meet somebody and you're explaining what it is you believe, and they don't believe, why we're going to argue? You say, well, you know, I understand your point of view. And I just explained to you my point of view. And we still love each other and we move on. But no, we got to argue. That's what creates the problems in Sabbath school. When Davidian goes up in there and they're going to beat these people over their head with what they know. Most of what they know, it's just to pump them up. And when you do that to a Sabbath school teacher, some of them are lower educationally, and you go in and you destroy them like that. I wouldn't join no Davidian, me myself either. But if we did what Christ was the creator of this whole world, he is in full control. And when you read, it says he was never rude. He never argued. He treated human beings. And if we're going to reflect this image, be candidates and enter this kingdom, we're going to have to start doing that. But we love to argue because it makes us feel big. Well, it's a very, very, very flawed behavior. Being constantly argumentative is a form of arrogance. Arrogance means you're stupid and I know everything. But that's a fool because nobody knows everything. I can tell you about psychology because I had to study all of the areas. And if I knew everything, they wouldn't want me to do 40 hours every time I have to go to workshop, because as you study, there are new techniques and there are new things. So I would be stupid to say, I don't need to go to any workshop. I know it all. That's a fool. And that's what it's saying, to argue about something when the messenger said, we're not lawyers. We don't have the right to argue. The truth will stand for itself. That's what this is about. So next time you find, we need to look and see if we're in this category. Instead of arguing, just arguing. And you know, it turns into fighting. Now, dishonesty. All these are broken Flawed individual, telling a lie socially when the situation requires that either the person you're talking to doesn't need to deserve the truth. You're talking to the person and you say, I don't have to tell them the truth. If I tell them the truth, they're not going to like it. Nah, you do, what you going to do that? Now, it's the way in which we tell the truth. You can't just pop up to a person and say, you know, I need to tell you this because you're going to fight. But if you understand the way Christ would do it, and we would go to that person, it says, if you have ought, you go to that person, but you don't go to the person mean and hateful. You find a way and ask the Lord to make the words that come out of your mouth. You ask him, because the righteousness of Christ is doing the right thing at the right time. So your time might be, I'm ready now, but have you talked to the Lord? Father, I'm going to visit Jane because Jane, I need to express some things to Jane. Tell me when it's the right time. Now, what the Lord will do is fix Jane's mind for you. So by the time you get to Jane, she is receptive. Then you ask the Lord, tell me when. I promise you. But we don't just blurt out. Avoiding the truth consistently, especially just to evade the consequences for what you have done, is not attractive and it's dangerous. Ask yourself, why am I lying? Now remember, excuses are lies. So you might not come out and say, if I ask you, how do I look? And you know I didn't look nice, but you say, oh, you look all right. That's a lie. But also, if I prevaricate, go around the bush, you know, you ask me a question, instead of me answering correctly, I go all around Jerusalem, came back to Kenya, come all the way back. That's lying. And when I make an excuse, I'm lying. So be careful. It's dishonesty. Ask yourself, why am I lying? Is it a habit? Do I want other people to think well of me or not be disappointed? People need the truth, sometimes even if it's hard to hear. So we have to understand. So this is a flawed behavior also. Number 3, short temper and combative. It is a frustrating world. And if we don't get our way, our own plans are derailed. Frustration can lead us to snappiness. So we want something, or we want the person to do something. They don't do it the way, they don't do it when we want them, or they choose not to, or they say, I can't do it. We get frustrated and then we get snappy, angry. And a lot of us people use manipulation. You couldn't have cared about me, because if you cared about me, you would have done this. These are from the devil. It's never from the Lord. Everyone gets frustrated, but we don't have to lose control and react outrageously. If you feel frustration building, fight any desire to lash out. Perhaps it would be best to walk away. Take a deep breath. Count to 10, whatever you can do. Learn how to stop projecting your reaction and don't react. What we do, projection. Let's say we're coming back to Jane. Jane, something happened. You were to meet Jane at 10 o'clock. You didn't show up till 10:30. Then instead of simply saying, and I'm sorry, I'm late, you got to project it on Jane. You said, Jane, you always late. So I said to myself, why show up early? No, that's a lie. What we did, instead of working with us, we projected on Jane. Jane had nothing to do with it. Jane was ready at the front porch, sitting there waiting. But to make me feel good, I projected on Jane. All these we're talking about is from the devil, and all of us have a little piece of something. Stop projecting your reaction and don't react. Take a step back. Whenever you begin to feel pressure from these emotional button pushers, just step back. All right? Save us. Now let me show you what This one did when she didn't step. See, she threw the water all up in his face. That's the anger. And we do that. We might not throw water, but some of the things that come out of our mouth, the spirit of prophecy say cannot be erased. We might move forward and we might say, some people don't say, I'm sorry. And that's even worse, because if we don't say we're sorry, our records are still on the books. Remember, it says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our. So we never go to the person and say, you know, I'm sorry. Our records are still on the books. The person went on, got themselves together, moved forward, but our records are there. And if we die and there are any things on those books, we're not coming up in the special resurrection. Neither are we going to be one with or one of the 144,000. We are living in serious time. Remember the prayer thoughts. All this I'm reading is the devil's way of keeping us flawed so we won't be saved. Now, are you the type of person that need to be right all the time? Do you have to be right all the time? Do you always have correct answers and need everyone to know it? There are people that I say, why you are guessing? If I say, why did that house fall down? There are people, I think it fall down because you don't know the answer. You weren't there. Be quiet. But you see, if I say it, we don't even consciously understand that. If I say it, it makes me feel big. You don't know it. Do you know how nice it is to be able to say, I really didn't. I really don't know, but I promise you, I'm going to look it up and I'm going to get back with you with the answer. Do you know how that's appreciated rather than you giving an answer? That's conceit. Do you always have the correct answer and need everyone to know that? This the ones that you go to school with and they're raising their hand, and nobody has got a chance. You may be a tiny bit conceited. Nobody likes a know-it-all. You know that. No, I don't want to talk to her. She know everything. I don't want to be bothered. You know, you stay away from that person because that's a fool. So why get caught up in this character flaw? If it is important for you to point out rightness all the time, you are really displaying conceit. Do you really think you are right all the time? Or do you just want people to think you are? See, this is a flaw. Do you always have to, or you want people to think? Eating crow isn't fun either. Ask yourself, is it better to be right or better to build a better relationship? And you might be, but nobody wants to sit 2 or 3 people and you the only one know everything. And you the only one have to be right. Everybody, you got to pull back. You know, I was reading a story, and this is true, that this gentleman, these are 2 friends, and they were both artists, brilliant artists. And this is a true story. And they painted the picture. They're going to an exhibition, and they painted the picture. And when the one looked at his friend picture, it was so horrible. Instead of telling the man how horrible it was, do you know what he did? They took the paint and downplayed his, so his friend would not feel out of place. Now, that they didn't say they were Christians. That is what Christ would want us to do. That's what Christ did. He could have said, you know, my Father, I live in this house in heaven. 5 or 6 mansions. I don't do this and I don't do that. And I could kill you right now. He never did. The morning watch I was reading, it says he came, but they didn't want him because he didn't look like they thought God should look. He downplayed all of that to fit in with you and I, so we would be comfortable. That's what a true person do. They don't make the other person look, lift them up so they look stupid. That's not of God. But that's a flawed behavior that the devil has given us. The other one is perfectionist and nitpicker. The perfectionist is hardest on themselves, but it turns you into a crazy person that people don't want to be around. Perfectionism isn't about being perfect. It's about thinking that you have to be perfect. See, the person is not perfect, is thinking, if I'm not perfect, John won't speak to me. If I'm not perfect in getting my work done, this won't happen. I won't get a raise. If I'm not perfect, can you imagine how that gonna run you crazy? The issues are you do your very, very, very best. But this, and so that now let me say a little something for you thinking. It doesn't mean you have to live in a filthy house and say, well, I'm not perfect. That's not. When you read the word, it says God is a God of order. He deals with system and order. When he set up the children of Israel in the wilderness, go back and read it. Every tribe was organized in its form. All around, he had everything put. He made them sanitary laws. He told them they had to be clean. When they come to the Sabbath, when the housing, he made sanitation. So don't think I said, I don't have to be perfect. My closet can look like a pigsty. My kitchen can look nasty. That's not what this is. It means you still gonna have to do those things. But when you set out to do what you need to do, you have to make sure that you do the job the right way. But you have people to the extreme. They're gonna stay all night in the office, making sure every sheet is in its right place. Now that's a sick person. And not getting the ideal result makes them disappointed. And then they got to go drink or they got to get some drugs because it didn't fit. If that sounds like you, use this mantra. No one is perfect, not even me. Take a deep breath and accept your flaws. Self-criticism is not your friend. So what it do, you say, you know what? I'm flawed, but I know a savior that's not. So today, I'm going to ask him to lead me today and on and on and on until I maintain that. But don't do that with everybody around you. So that's what this one is about. And this is the one that when you see in 10:10, it's saying they have to have a perfect score. If they ever got a perfect score, you know, I do the Bible Workers Program. And what we're asking for is 90% overall score. But it is so beautiful because we send out they get the information and they study the information, then they take the test. Do you know how many people call me arguing? One person told me, well, I went to college. I shouldn't have missed any. God, that ain't got nothing to do with this salvation. This has nothing to do with this spiritual world. Yes, I went to college too. But the issues are, it's about learning. You know, I never looked at it like that. I really never saw it like that. And 90% of the individuals that are in this program tells me that. You know, I'm learning so, and these are people that know the word. I'm learning so much. Well, see, that's what God is expecting. He's not telling you, I expect. The people, they miss the point. They're looking at the score rather than what they have learned. Even when they send me their results and I'm reading these essays, I'm learning from what they have written. Playing the victim and the blame game. Lord have mercy. Most people blame others for what happened to them. They blame instead of, you know, my grandchildren and the grandbaby Leah that all of you all know that stays with me and Rowan. When I teach her, I said, do not blame others for what happens to you. Take responsibility for your action. She used to say, my mom, I said, I don't want to hear it. Your mother didn't make you do it. You did it because you chose to do it. But you see, if I can blame you, I get it off of me, but I won't change. Things go wrong in a big way. Things are going to happen. Remember, we live in a world that is unstable. Sometimes it's our own fault. It is important we take responsibility for the things that go wrong in our lives. But we look at it as a failure. If I think that you can't, you know what? And I might have said this before. David, long before I was a Davidian, long before I knew the Lord, I fell in love with David. You know what part I fell in love with David? I loved when Nathan came to him and told, when he said, thou art the man, it said he had the right to kill him. When you read it, Nathan had to pray before he go before the servant, the Lord's servant. He could have killed him, but when David found out, read Psalm 51. He didn't say, Bathsheba should not have been up there naked, Lord. She the one caused me to do this. What you doing looking through the window? That's the woman's balcony. Or he didn't say, you know, Lord, he said, I only have sinned and committed this evil. And I fell in love with him. He took responsibility for his action. He told the Lord all about him. Never once did he say, Bathsheba shouldn't have done this. You know, Lord, my servant shouldn't have bring him. He took responsibility. Until we take responsibility. You know what? I messed up. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have eaten that. I shouldn't have gone there. Oh, Lord, please help me. Not you dragged me there. Because you was mad and I was mad, because you wouldn't speak to me, I went and did this. Because you wouldn't do this. Foolishness. Taking on the victim role, pointing your fingers at others is a bad habit that needs to be broken. We'll never be saved. Please remember that, because it's going to stay on our records. There are people that don't never say, I'm sorry, because of the pride. And until they say they are sorry, you know, we can say, Lord, I'm sorry, I curse out Davin this morning. Please forgive me. But I still have to go to Davin and say, Davin, I'm very sorry. I can't tell him my wife, my husband, my brother made mess with me this morning. That's not his responsibility. Davin, I'm sorry. I should not have said la, la, la to you. And please forgive me. And Sister White said, you can't just say, I'm sorry. You have to itemize the things that you've done. Davin, I'm sorry that I called you out of your name. I'm so sorry that I said these negative, and I need to tell him the negative things I said to him. Please forgive me. Now, whether Davin choose to or not, it's on him. But I have to do my part. Then I go to the Lord and say, Lord, you see what I did this morning. I'm so sorry. However, I'm begging you to forgive me. That's the only way it comes off of my records. Other than that, it's going to stay there. Besides people becoming wary of your pity party, poor little old me. I'm the only one that's hurting. I'm the only one. Them the people that make you depressed. When you talk to them and you talk, how you doing today? You struggling yourself. And they got to tell you all the Genesis to Revelation. You don't want to talk to them because you know it's the same Christian. That's pity party. And these are the ones that blame. Most people try to disassociate themselves from people like this. So it doesn't drag them down. So when I get a person that don't want to take responsibility, I'm done talking. I'm gone. I don't have anything else to say, because I understand what this person is going to do. Blaming. Now, narcissistic personality. This is a big word. I'm only going to do a tiny piece of this, because that's a whole mental illness. So I'm just, this is a self-centered narcissistic person. One of the first lessons we are taught as children is how to share with others. Sharing your toys, treats is the right thing to do. But there are other things we do that are selfish that you may not realize. People who are only concerned with themselves are called narcissists. It's me. Do you find yourself? So this is just an overview, but it's a deep mental issue. But I just put a few verses there. Do you find yourself focused primarily on yourself all the time? Are you ever a good listener? These are individuals that do not listen. You come and you say, you know, I'm hurting. They're going to either give you a solution. You ain't ask them that. You just want somebody to listen. I'm hurt, especially women. Women want somebody to listen. All right? Are you a good listener? Or are you going to start? A narcissistic person talk about their problems, their achievement, their everything to the exclusion of everybody else's problem. The person come and say, you know, last night I had to go to the emergency room because of such and such. Instead of the listener say, oh, I'm so sorry. What happened? And you tell them, they're going to tell you, well, I went last week. And let me tell you what happened. They totally negate you and start on theirs. It's all about them. Nobody wants to be friends with a narcissist. People want, I listen, you listen. That's a conversation. A lot of this happen in marriages. The person don't want to listen. You're talking about the frog. They talking about the cow. You didn't talk about the cow. You want to talk about the frog that jumped in your bed this morning. Where did the frog come from? Help me find the frog. Well, if you were to put this in the hole, the frog won't come. They ain't no ask you that. They want you to say, did it get to you? It didn't bite you, did it? What you feeling? I'm upset. Well, okay, come on. That's what they want. But that narcissistic person gonna say, well, one day I was in the bed and the frog jumped on me. You know, I didn't kill the frog. And they gone on way down to Jerusalem. That's what's wrong. Think about it. Their friendship tends to be one-sided. And really, a one-sided friendship is no friendship at all. If that person got to always and not be there to listen to you, and you listen to them when they need, that's not a friend. Examine yourself. Ask yourself, am I a drama queen or a drama king? Me. Okay, we almost finished with the description, and then we're going to get the solution. Stubborn and inflexible. Are you a my way or the highway type of person? Being inflexible is a tough stance to take. Now, we have another word for that. We can say passive aggressive. You ask the person to do something. The person has determined, I ain't doing it. And so you either get an argument or I'm not doing it. Although it makes sense. But if somebody else tell me I do it, you are likely to find yourself alone a lot as people walk in and out of your life as fast as through a revolving door. You need to look at your children. Those of you that have children, do the children don't want to be bothered with you? Or do you have a relationship with your children where you laugh and talk? Or they going to see about you? Are they going to send you a little something? You need to take a look, because we might be one of these, this is this. You didn't do it the way I tell you to do it. Or this is the way you do it. Or your friends. Anybody wants that. You either do it where neither one of you are getting the message. The relationship are two-way street. Try to keep the straight in your head. The message teaches we have to stay in the middle of the road, not go and do this and do that. That's what this is about. Stubbornness, and it creates a lot of relational issue, family issue, brethren issues. You'll be surprised. And we have vanity and deceitfulness. Pridefulness, and I'm looking at it. Are you overly concerned with your looks? Image, self-image is a struggle for many people. And you remember now, I'm not laughing at anyone. Remember, these things happen in early childhood. You're fat, you're stupid, you're tall, you're ugly, you're too dark, you're too light, things like that. And so it affects body image, and the person grow up always in the mirror, always, this. It's natural to want to be your best and look your best. But could it be that you want to put on a show with your physical appearance because of inner insecurity? These are things you got to look and understand. You know, if I'm insecure because of when I was growing up, they used to tease me at school because I used to wear Walmart tennis shoes and their mothers could buy them. You'll be surprised to know how many young people I talk to that are struggling. The parents can't buy the name brand. It's they go to school and those people tease them and tell them, they have names for it. My grandchildren tell me the names of what they call those children. And so no, they grow up and they're able now to buy stuff. They're starved, but they're going to buy the name brand. They're not going to the thrift store. It's nasty in there. So they're going to do. So we need to take a look. Are we spending all our bills money so we can look? And if one straw here can't be out of place, we would die. Humorless, and this is the last one, to laugh at yourself. You got some people. Laughter is the best medicine. But when laughter is turned on you, it may not be so funny. A lot of times, you know, comedians, a lot of them are hurting people and they use their family as joke because it makes them feel better. You'll be surprised to know how psychologically damaged they are. And they use joke, people that joke and play around all the time, they do that as a front. And when you turn it on them and you start telling them, they get mad. But they love to do it to other people. Do one want to be made fun of? And when you are focused on the joke of cruelty or bullying behavior, you have every right to feel insulted. But when friends poke fun at you, it is often meant as an endearment. You know, they tease you, look at your shoes. Child, you need a new pair of shoes or something. They're really trying to tell you that. And so a lot of times your friends will say, now I just tell you, girl, don't you need a pair of shoes? The shoes come in now, don't you? Or whatever. But some people make a joke. Take this situation as intentioned. We laugh at other people when we recognize similarities in our lives. You hear what it said? When you laugh at other people and you think it's funny, it's because in your life is a similarity. Life is funny. Don't miss out on the fun. But do not now. Don't take this and say, I can laugh at John James. That's not what it's saying. It's saying you can have fun, but don't do it at other people's expense. Don't take out your cruelty. The food, that food didn't taste good. And you, instead of, and you're going to hurt that person. If you didn't like the food, shut up. Don't eat it, but don't make jokes. It need a little salt in it. Girl, maybe you can. And I'm telling you what I know. All right. So these are faulty behaviors. Now, we're coming now to the reality. It must be understood. All humans are flawed. Now, I just read some things that show us how flawed we are. All of us don't have all of those 9 things, but we might have 1 or 2. But you can't say, well, I'm flawed and he's not. All humans are flawed in one way or the other. And it's often easy to recognize the flaws in others. We see everybody else's issues but ourselves. And what we do, we hide behind it. Well, I'm not like Susie. I don't do that. And then we make us big instead of stopping and say, oh, Lord Jesus, I might not have what Susie have, but you know, Lord, I'm like that. But let's be honest, we can all improve how we present ourselves in our communications or interaction with family, friends, business associates, and others. Perfection is not the goal, but with a little insight, we can evolve our own character and be more fair, more considerate of others, and less on the edge all the time. It's not hard to pick out the worst character flaws. Use this guide to identify what your, not what John and James and Susie's character flaws are, what yours are. what your character flaws might be, and what you can do to get along with people and feel better about yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself about your flaws. Now, don't sit up there and say, Lord, I don't know when that's not what we're talking. When you identify it, you got a savior. You can go, you know how much things me and the Lord talk about me? Or we talk about me until I'm sick of talking about me and him. Just me and him talking, because I see my flaws and I see it and I run to him. And that's what it's talking about. Forgive yourself. But because let me tell you why it's saying this. The devil, you know, you got your little flaws. Let's say you don't tell the whole truth, which is still lying. The devil gonna tell you, after you go to the Lord and you fix it and you fix it, he's gonna say, I don't know why you going to the Lord. You just finished telling him, you just finished saying you stopped telling lies and you just did it. You're not gonna be saved either. Don't you dare let demons tell you that. When your Father has forgiven you and you fix it, he throws your sins in the depth of the seas. You move on. Don't be willing to make changes. Now, what created the problem in mankind? We're going to the solution now. Through disobedience to God, Adam and Eve had lost Eden. And because of sin, the whole earth is cursed. Adventist Home 144, paragraph 8. Each generation was becoming more feeble in physical, mental, and moral power. And we are 6,000 years down the road. You can look at the flood. They were next to Adam and look at their condition. We worse. Adam fall, and by his sin, he opened the floodgates of woe upon the world. For nearly 1,000 years, Adam lived among his descendants, a witness to the result of sin. Can you imagine how he feels? If I didn't do that, if I didn't eat the fruit, I could have thought about it. My children, Cain wouldn't have killed his brother. This one he lived in misery. Spirit of prophecy says sometimes he wished he had died right then. Faithfully, he sought to stem the tide of evil. He witnessed the widespreading corruption that was finally to cause the destruction of the world by a flood. And though the sentence of death pronounced upon him by his maker had at first appeared terrible, yet after beholding for nearly 1,000 years the result of sin, he felt it was a merciful God. It was merciful in God to bring an end to life of suffering and sorrow. He wished he had died. Then now remember now, that's 1,000 years. He watched all of that. And then he died. We 6,000 years down here, almost 6,000 years. Can you imagine the filth that we have inherited? Now, I'm not telling you that to say, well, thank God I'm flawed, but you know I'm flawed. He said you still got to fix it. You still have to fix it. Now, what is the remedy? The only remedy for our souls struggling to rise from a life of sin to a life of purity, the great element of power abides in the only name under heaven among men whereby we might be saved. Acts 4:12, only in Jesus Christ. It's the devil's position to keep us out of the kingdom. We have a savior. I don't care if you have 9 of these flaws. It's okay. Now you just look at them and go to your Redeemer. If any man thirst for restful hope, for deliverance from sinful propensity, Christ says, let him come unto me and drink. John 7:37. The only remedy for vice is the grace and power of God. We cannot keep ourselves from sin for one moment. Every moment we're dependent upon God. We cannot, and we can't leave. We can't pray 6 o'clock this morning and don't pray again till 5. Oh, you'd be surprised the things you do and say. Remember that you will never reach a higher standard than you set yourself. Then set your mark high, step by step, even though it's painful effort. By self-denial and sacrifice, ascend the whole length of the ladder of progress. Let nothing hinder you. Fate has not woven its meshes about any human being so firmly that he cannot remain helpless. He need remain helpless and in uncertainty. What it's saying here, nothing. If you just decide, remember, he wants your will. Your will is your decision. He wants for you to say, Lord, I'm coming. I don't care. You told me you would do this for me. I'm coming. And yes, when you fall down, you get back up. You get back up and you progress. Opposing circumstances should create a firm determination to overcome them. Affirm. The breaking down of one barrier will give greater ability and courage. So when you overcome one way, you move forward, the Lord give you some more. Press with determination in the right direction, and circumstances will be your helper, not your hindrance. So to make these changes, we can only do it in Christ Jesus. Victory. We can have victory. Okay, again, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that he may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect gift of God. There is no genuine reform without Christ. Reform is changing. With changing your ideas and what you thought, but he cannot do it apart of Christ. Apart from divine power, no genuine reform or change can be affected. Human barriers against natural and cultivated tendencies are but a sandbank against the torrent. Not until the life of Christ become a vitalizing power in our lives can we resist temptation that assail us. We got to surrender. So, finally, we cannot be saved in this condition. All that we read, I don't care if we return 50% on tithes. I don't care if you dress, eat, sleep on. If we got conceit, blaming, hate, anger, we cannot be saved. So we have to go to the source, Christ Jesus. He's our only. Nobody got to know your business. You go to, like I do. Me and the Lord talk 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes he wake me up 3 o'clock in the morning and show me. And we talk about it and we pray and I cry and I tell him whatever it is. Talk to him. You don't have to tell Tom, Dick, and Harry what your little private sin is. Just tell your Savior. Cannot be saved. Seek help of God and righteousness. Those who is striving to break free the walls that enclose them. Those things that are keeping us. Go to the Lord for help. It didn't say go to Tom, Dick, and Harry. Go to the Lord for help. Go to those who, and then it says, go to those who you know love and fear God, and ask them and say, take me under your care. Now, Sister White said, you can find somebody that you really trust, that you know love the Lord. It's still imperfect human beings. But you know they will lead you heavenwards. They're not going to tell you something this day, I would do this and I would do that. No, they're going to help you to see and move. So she said, go to the Lord for help. And then find somebody that you trust and you know fear the Lord, and ask them to take me under your care, for Satan tempts me fairly. I have no power from the snare to go. And I'm going to bring this in, throw this in. Do you know when people are doing addiction, whether it's narcotic, sexual addictions, or whether they're doing alcohol, and these people don't know the Lord like you and I know the Lord, they set them up with someone that they can trust. God is the higher power. And the reason they put the higher power, because you have Muslims, you got everybody in it. So they put it, instead of saying God, these are rehabilitation programs, they put the higher power. And then they put the higher power, and then they connect that person with a person that have been through what they've been through, and they know. And when they get weak, They call that person and that person will help them. That's what Sister White is saying. Find somebody, tell them. You don't tell Tom, Dick, and Harry and get strength to resist. And she said, develop a personal relationship with God. And this is what's so beautiful. Lay your wants, your joys, your sorrow, your cares, your fear before God. The Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercies. His heart is of love. His heart of love is touched by sorrow and even by utterance of them. I need a connection, David. Nothing that is in any way concern your peace is too small for his notice. So what it's saying here, go to the Lord. Go to the Lord, and he will direct you. We're almost finished. Just bear with me 1 minute. We're trying to fix the computer before it cuts off. See, check out this one. Sorry about that. We had to get that straight. Now, we have in concluding statements, we have the promise. Do you see that he's going to save us? The prophet appears in a day that he can restore all things, everything that was lost through sin, even the kingdom. Now, all the sins that we have inherited from Adam, Elijah has come to restore, to bring us to our right mind, to teach us from this bowl. If we study the information, so little by little, he'll bring the family back together. He'll bring all the stuff that we lost, marriage, the proper marriage, Sabbath keeping, etc. It says, Elijah shall indeed come first and restore all things, and we shall finally be what Adam was in the beginning in the Garden of Eden. You know, when we get that way, we won't have all these flaws. But Elijah has come with a message. A message came 1929, 1930. He has come and he's brought us the information of the way back. Though lost through sin, all created in the beginning will be restored in the times of restitution of all things, which God had spoken by the mouth of all his holy prophets since the world began. We are in that period of time. There is no excuse. We can go to our Father. We got the information in the bowl that will save us. So, although the image of God been defaced in mankind, we look like the devil. Jesus said, Elias verily cometh and restore all things. You and I are living in the time when Elijah came. Elijah's message is here. We have everything we need. Elijah's coming must precede the great and dreadful day of the Lord and before Christ comes. And when he comes, he's going to restore all things. We are in the process of restoration. We don't have any excuse. Well, I'm conceited and I'm that. Yeah, I used to be conceited like that, but I have a Father. And I go to my Father and he's going to direct me to the information that Elijah, that's in that bowl. In that bowl, so I can begin the process of renovation and change. It's from that information that he's going to get. That's what 144,000 is going to feed from. They're feeding from this bowl. They're going to. Those that hadn't come in yet, they're coming. Vanguard and all. We're feeding from this bowl, and it brings us consciousness in our mind. And through the Lord, it makes us see ourselves, and then we begin the process of change. Elijah's message, yea, even the curses of the earth will be removed. Families, marriage, Sabbath will be restored, etc. Even our language, education, all that will be restored. We are blessed to be living in the time when all these issues that we now face will be resolved through our relationship with God and our studies of his word. May God have mercy upon us, and I hope you got an understanding and know that we don't have to stay in the condition we are. The Lord said, let this mind be of Christ that be in us. our mental, physical, and our emotional status, even in spite of the trauma that we have experienced. Okay, we're going to have closing prayer. I'm going to have closing prayer. Master, more and more I see why we're falling in love with you so much. You never leave us without showing us ourselves. You have shown us what sin has done to us in a minute way and how terrible the consequences are. But then you didn't leave us there. You show us how we can change into your image, and we thank you so much. We thank you for what we've learned. Help us not to just hear it, but to begin the process of applying it to our life through you. Today, I ask you to bless each of the persons that was on this line. Help them, I pray, to get a full understanding that they, along with me, to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. Thank you again for just loving us enough to be, teach, guide, and protect us. And then help us not to take it for granted. Again, we thank you for all your mercies in your son's name. Amen.